Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. Before I get started, if you haven't already checked it out, I did post a video with the first round of initial results from the community survey that was posted about a month ago. So here's a link to that. Either before you watch this or after you watch this, definitely go check it out because there's a whole bunch of really interesting data there. Back to the task at hand, as always I'll be presenting high-level overviews using these 4 criteria to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. How these new characters fit into your team, whether they unlock any bonds, what kind of content they get used for, and their future availability. So let's go ahead and hop right into this new character Raid Up banner featuring Ilucia and Shilinka, running from July 2nd to July 15th. Now remember that this is not a Destiny banner, so it's definitely possible to pull an off-banner hero even on your first SSR summon. You have a 40% chance of summoning Ilucia, a 40% chance of summoning Shilinka, and a 20% chance of summoning somebody random, maybe someone you need. So first let's take a look at Ilucia. She's an aquatic physical tank with Jugler's Guard and conversion skill Triton. Her talent gives her aquatic mobility when she's in water, regardless of her class, as well as some physical damage reduction and a once per battle revive. She can also use Tidal Elves, which can stack up an additional 45% physical damage reduction in water on top of her talent. When she's attacked, she puts the enemy in water and has a chance to stun them if they were already in water. Her 3-cost skill is an upgraded Triton that makes enemies within 2 spaces unable to act again. She also has a panoply of other skills that either put her or her enemies in water. She likes the water. She's a member of Legion of Glory, buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier, and Strategic Masters, buffed by Lanford and Altemuller. For bonds, she actually doesn't block any SSR character's bonds, yet at least. It's always possible that a new character gets added that relies on Ilucia for bonds, especially since she's a new character for this game, and the ongoing story mode may continue introducing characters. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As far as her own bonds, she needs the Knight of Mystery to unlock her own defensive bond, and the free storyline SR character Oliver for her attack bond. If you don't have the Knight of Mystery yet, you'll be able to try to get her next week on the Valentine banners. Now, for content, in the Eternal Temple she's on faction for Phoenix and Scylla, and I could maybe see her being semi-useful against Scylla just because she'd have ready access to her water buffs. On the flip side though, any of her effects that try to hinder the enemy by putting them in water wouldn't be effective there, so maybe it's a wash. It's not exactly the best fight for tanks anyway. In Ancient Beckoning, she's on faction for Hugin and Munin and Sleipnir, but again, other characters are much better suited to those fights. She could probably be useful in Timeless Trials as a harder-to-kill SSR replacement for Lester, since she also has Chainhook. But Lester's free. In PvP, her 3-cost skills Aura disabling Act Again effects, and her talent's ability to stun an enemy might be mildly disruptive, but overall, her guard and her skills, and her factions for that matter, are relatively unimpressive. All this plus she's still relatively easy to counter with magic, so I don't see her being a big threat in high-level play unless you're running an Aqua gimmick box with a juiced-up Alfred or something. In which case, as always, play to your niche. For availability, she should be coming back in early November on a Destiny banner with Gerald and Layla, and her bond unlocker, the Knight of Mystery. If you're not absolutely desperate to get her now, and you have both of those characters, or you think you will have both of those characters by November, then you have a shot at a guaranteed Ilucia then. Maybe a little less risky, even if it is a long time to wait. Anyway, let's move on to Shilinka. Shilinka is a sneaky, teleporting, guard-ignoring assassin. Her talent gives her a damage boost and damage reduction if she ends her turn with no allies within 2 spaces. You can then move a tank into range to protect her, but she's got to be exposed for at least a bit in order to get these buffs set up. Could be dangerous. She also has the ability to revive with 90% of her hit points, at the expense of being stunned for 1 to 3 turns afterwards. It's only 1 turn at 6 stars, but still, these kinds of trade-offs basically describe her whole character design. For example, her 3-cost skill is a big damage single target attack. If your target has no allies within 2 spaces, and you kill them, then you get to act again. Also, if your target does have adjacent allies, you ignore 20 to 40% of their defense. You get one or the other effect depending on the enemy's positioning. She's a member of Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida, and Mythical Realm, buffed by Gizaroth and the Tree Sage. For bonds, she doesn't block any SSR character's bonds yet. All the same conditions that I talked about with Ilucia also apply here. We don't really know what's coming in the future. She needs Brenda to unlock her own defensive bond, and Rainforce to unlock her attack bond. As we saw in the community survey recently, Brenda is actually the least owned character in this game, so if you're missing either of them, they're both coming back on Destiny banners within the next 2 to 3 months. Brenda's coming in August with Listel and Lambda, and Rainforce in September with Zerida and Gizaroth. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Scylla in Eternal Temple, and Fenrir and Jormungandr in Ancient Beckoning. She doesn't have much in her toolkit that makes her really impressive for protracted fights against big bosses. She's definitely designed more with PvP in mind, bringing a few of the usual sneaky assassin tricks to the table. She has a skill that ignores guard as long as Shilinka has no allies within 3 spaces. She gets another movement opportunity after killing an enemy with this skill, so you could run away from your team, pick someone off, and then fall back to safety, but you better be sure you can kill with it. She also has a 1-cost skill called Flash that teleports her, grants her +2 movement, and gives her a buff that lets her attack an enemy directly, bypassing soldiers if there's another enemy adjacent to the target. You can even use this in conjunction with your 3-cost skill, since it ignores a chunk of the enemy's defense if there are adjacent enemies. Obviously, there are a lot of moving parts here, and in order to fully take advantage of her kit, you kinda need the stars to align. You need to rely on your opponent being in various states of positioning, order, or chaos, and for them not to be able to react after you set up your teleport. In short, you need your enemy to make some mistakes in order to fully take advantage of her kit. It might be a lot to ask against higher tier players who know how to play around her, which is pretty much what happened in the Chinese meta. She got a lot of play initially, but she fell off the map after players learned how to counter her. If you see her using her teleport and getting that direct attack buff set up, then you may want to reposition your units a little bit to make things less easy for her. She's still good, and like any new or confusing character, she'll be an excellent noob crushing tool. For availability, she should be coming back in late November on a Raid Up banner alongside Dehart. Okay, so here's the quick and dirty. Ilucia is an aquatic tank that stacks up physical damage reduction. She has Chain Hook, and an otherwise unimpressive kit and factions for PvP outside of gimmick or niche boxes. Shilinka has been made to look like a top-tier assassin, but with lots of caveats. She has access to teleport, guard ignore, direct attack, act again, and self-revive in some form or another, but they all kind of take setting up and a little bit of intricate ballet movement on your part. So she can trick inexperienced players, but she does take some telegraphed setup. Once people gain a little bit more experience with her, they'll know what they're looking for. Overall, I'd say this is a pretty skippable banner. Don't get me wrong, both of these characters are fine, and Shilinka's actually pretty good. In the right hands, she could be devastating, but that's true of most characters. But simply put, there are some big meta units coming up in the near future. New PvP toys like Licorice and Reen for veteran players, and classic stalwarts like Elwyn, Leon, Bozel, Liana, and Luna for newer or PvE-focused players. So just a reminder about upcoming banners. Next week, we're expecting the special Valentine's trade-in event banners that I've been talking about for a while now. This will actually be a slate of 3 banners, one featuring Angelina and Landius, one featuring Claret and Sigma, and one featuring the Knight of Mystery and Lanford. How about I just roll a clip of me explaining these in case you missed them in the last episode. So, these banners are unique. Summoning any SSR unit, even an off banner, regardless of whether they're 6-star or not, on any of the 3 banners will give you a trade-in token. If you have 50 shards for any of the featured characters, you can trade them and the token for 60 shards of their banner partner. Since I've had a lot of people ask me in the comments how these banners work, I'll give 2 examples of how they could work in practice. So let's say you don't have Lanford or Mystery Knight. You can summon on their banner, and you have an 80% chance to get one or the other. It doesn't even matter which one you get. If you summon Lanford, you'll get a trade token, and since you didn't have him already, he'll be added directly to your barracks, so no shards yet. But of course, these banners are active for 2 weeks, so you can start farming your brand new Lanford's Gate of Fate until you have 50 shards, which you can do in what, 12 or 13 days? Then just go back in and trade those fresh shards and the token from before for a free Mystery Knight. 2 new SSRs for the price of 1. The second example is even easier. Let's say you do already have Lanford, but not the Knight of Mystery. Well, the banner's not coming out for another 2 weeks, so you could farm up 50 Lanford shards in advance. When you summon on the banner, you have a 40% chance to pull your new Knight of Mystery up front. This would allow you to trade those pre-farmed Lanford shards for 60 bonus Knight of Mystery shards if you wanted to. You could just use them on your Lanford. You'll also have a 40% chance of summoning Lanford. Now you can trade your shards for a free Knight of Mystery and still have some to spare. The real perk of pre-farming is that it makes the 20% chance to pull an off banner less dangerous, since you still get a token. So you could use the token that you get from your off-banner summon, combined with the shards that you already have, and still make the trade. Whereas if you didn't pre-farm, you'd have a token sitting there but not the shards ready to trade. So hopefully that clarifies how these banners should work. They're a great way to knock out some characters you're still missing, giving better functional odds than a Destiny banner in some cases. Some people will even be looking to trade simply because getting 10 bonus shards out of the deal saves a couple days of farming. Finally, when this Ilucia and Shilinka banner goes away, it should be replaced by a Destiny banner featuring Omega, Virash, and Cherie. This will actually be Virash's first time on a banner since he launched in March, and his first time on a Destiny banner ever. So if you've been jonesing for him, this would be a good time to pick him up. Otherwise, it would also be a good week to keep saving up for the new meta character Licorice, coming only a couple weeks after. So I hope all this was helpful in some way. Let me know in the comments who you're hoping to summon on this banner, if anyone, and if you had any luck. And if you're keeping your tickets stored up, let me know who you're hoarding for. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.